No book I've ever read has made me as uncomfortable as The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. This book, this world, really is a pastor with podcast equipment. It's his wet dream. And before anybody asks, yes, I sound sick because I have a respiratory infection. I am very miserable right now. If a Victorian child could see the bags under my eyes, that child would absolutely have a heart attack, which is saying something because they probably worked 25 hours a day, 8 days a week in a damn factory. Anyways, back to the book. The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. You guys probably all know what it's about, so I'm not going to give you a synopsis, but I want to talk about my perspective as a man reading women's perspectives when it comes to them dealing with sexism, because reading these experiences made me very, very uncomfortable, more than any horror book that I've ever read. I don't read a lot, to be fair, but a similar thing happened to me when I was reading Blood Over Brighthaven by Emma Wong, and I mentioned it in the video. But something about reading about these sexist acts from the perspective of a woman makes me far more uncomfortable than reading acts of racism, if that makes sense. And I was talking to my therapist about it, and I genuinely think it's because growing up, or at least here in the South in Texas, we grew up learning a lot more about racism than we did about sexism and all the issues that women have to go through. And so I genuinely think it might just be also that I am a minority man, so I for sure have dealt with more racism than I have sexism from the perspective of a woman, because I'm not a woman. But outside of that, I definitely also still think it's an exposure thing, that growing up we learn a lot more about other types of discrimination against other people and not so much discrimination against women. And so when I was reading this book, I was just viscerally uncomfortable so many times, and I had to even shut the book a few times. And so it caused me to reflect a lot on why I am more uncomfortable with reading sexism than I am with reading racism. But as for the book itself, I thought it was fantastic. I cannot wait to read the second one. It's really disturbing, and I think also one of the reasons why it made me super uncomfortable is because this does not seem that far away from not just reality, but from what many people want. And this seems like something that can very well be achieved if the wrong people put their minds to it and the right people let them. This is probably a book that I will be thinking about for the rest of my life, and definitely one that I will reread. And it's something that I think every guy out there should read for sure. Definitely see why this is banned by many conservative institutions, but it's a necessary read, and I freaking loved it. It caused a lot of self-reflection on what do I truly feel about this, and am I really just trying to avoid topics in my day-to-day life similar to this so I don't have to deal with the uncomfortableness of it. Highly recommend, especially if you're willing to do some self-reflection. 10 out of 10.